So Sahara, what is it that you do?
Her name is Sahara Rose.
Yes.
She's written 2 top-selling Ayurveda books. Both had forewords from the great Deepak Chopra, who has claimed he is passing the Ayurvedic torch to her. So cool.
So cool.
And we're so honored to have Sahara Rose and have the top podcast, Highest Self podcast. I like it.
Namaste. It's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast.
So Sahara, what is it that you do?
So I kind of stopped answering that question a while ago because it's not so much about what I do, but it's more of who I be. You see, I had this realization that honestly I had as a child, but sometimes you don't really let the realizations hit until later on. But our society so wants to define us by what we do, and what we do being such a limited role, right? Like what do? You have this one job that you're supposed to be day in and day out doing the same monotonous tasks over and over and over again. And it's almost like when you're applying for this job, the rest of you is no longer important. And I realized that I never want to be that. I never want to be labeled and defined as one thing. I never want to be the tasks that I do, but rather the energy that goes behind everything that I create. I pulled the exact same card I pulled this morning. That is crazy. This card is all about concentration, so I need to concentrate. Let's see what it has to say. My own cards, they still communicate with me. And I always still read the book too. Okay, some more nettle here, but I love making loose leaf teas. Just so much better for you. You're not getting the microplastics in there. So we're gonna work with some dandelion. No, some nettle right now. I love the grassy smell. I feel like so many people are often seeking for the muse, looking for that perfect piece of inspiration to come through. And in my experience, it's always there. It's just, do we have the space to listen to it? So for me in the morning, that's often when my creativity really comes online. And for me, it feels when I'm channeling, it feels like I'm getting ideas from a higher place. So it doesn't really feel like my logical mind, which is, okay, what are we doing next? And responding to the outer world and problem solving, which love my logical mind, but that's not what's going to write poetry. That's not what's going to channel ideas. So for me, I can feel when I'm tapped into something greater when it's poetic and it's clear and it sees the higher perspective and it's not so caught up in the day-to-day.
Okay, chubby, sit. Sit. Good boy, shake. Good boy, lie down. Lie down. Good boy, play dead. Good job, chubby. Good job. You're a good boy.
I feel like it's so important to constantly check yourself in the ways that you may have put yourself into a box, because it's a constant evolution. So, the first box that I was in was really my school system and trying to be a good student and
going to college and wanting to study international human rights law and working at NGOs and realizing that I did not feel like my creative self. And then stepping outside of that and realizing that I could help people in so many different ways through, my writing, through my speaking, and that's what led me to becoming a coach, writing books, etc. And then through that process, I began sharing about Ayurveda. And I did that day in and day out for 7 years. And it was so powerful, and I helped to bring Ayurveda into the lives of so many people that may not have heard about it before, and really help create this massive, boom, especially amongst millennials and understanding this ancient wisdom. And it was incredible. And I also reached a point that I realized that I had then put myself into another box of, people ask me the same questions again and again of what was Ayurveda and what are the doshas. And for me, I'm such a creative person. I have a lot of that vata air energy. So I am not someone who will feel in alignment if I am just having the same conversations every single day. I found myself just becoming resistant to having the same conversations again and again and again. And I realized if I spend the rest of my life only talking about Ayurveda, would I feel fulfilled? And the answer was no. I wanted to go deeper. I wanted to talk about why we are here. Just these bigger questions that I had. And that's when I shifted into being more of a spiritual thought leader. I launched Highest Self podcast. I started putting out spiritual content, eventually wrote Discover Your Dharma, created my yogic path deck, yogic path journal. And I was so afraid at the beginning because everyone who followed me for food and nutrition and digestion. And I remember it was midnight one night and my Instagram handle was Eat Feel Fresh. And I was like, I can't be Eat Feel Fresh anymore. Great, my mermaid toast is cool, but is that really what's shifting consciousness, And one night, it was midnight, and I'm just like, I am just gonna change my handle. And even if people unfollow me, and this was it, this is the height, I just can't live a lie anymore. I really can't, because I'm just not interested in these conversations. So I changed my bio to I am Sahara Rose. And of course, I'm sure some people unfollowed me, and that's okay, but I started to really follow myself, follow my own inner guidance. And the funny thing is I thought that's gonna be the end and everyone's gonna leave and whatever. And actually it was really the beginning. I've been really sitting in my artist archetype of letting myself just channel poetry and, express myself in this different way. I feel like, I started as a poet and writing a lot of poetry and artistic things, but then it became very self-help and how-to and, making it really simple for people. And now I'm kind of going back into how can you share something through art? How can you let the frequency of what you share be beyond the words and letting it be really an experience that people go through. So it's not how to be joyful in 5 steps, but rather a transmission of joy, that I've read that sentence and it gave me the exact codes that I needed to feel more joyful. So right now I am stepping away from any labels. I follow the creativity that moves through me and let myself be surprised by the experience. I dive deep, I go beyond just trying to be the same thing and post the same information and show up the same way, because in trying to get other people to understand me, I will then misunderstand myself. I am an ever-changing, multidimensional, mystical sun being. I am constantly evolving with the cycles of nature. Who I am today, who I am right now, is not who I was 5 minutes ago. And not only is that okay, but that is what makes me a human. We need more humanity. You are not just your one interest. You are not even all of your interests. You are the life force behind them. You are the reason why you have them. So how can I explain to you who I am?
when my highest self is still explaining it to me. Allow me to reintroduce myself. I'm a soul.